Folks, good afternoon and welcome to Tony's Digital Evangelism page. If you are viewing this, you are more than likely viewing this from the Added to the Church of Christ Acts 247 Facebook page that was started by Stefan Millet, and he is now assisted in that work by myself, Tony Brewer, and another friend of ours, Paul Mays. Folks, we are very interested in the Bible and the Bible only. We want to be Christians and Christians only, and we know that that's what the Bible makes. We go back to verses like Acts 17 and verse 11 that says, "These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so." We want to search the scriptures. We have with us today a man by the name of Russ Earl. He's a preacher from the Oologah Church of Christ in Oologah, Oklahoma. And if you've been paying attention to the feed, you'll notice that you'll see a lot of Oologah Raido podcast. He is the mastermind behind all of those. He's the one that gets them on the air and gets them seen. And after we discuss the series of lessons that we're going to discuss, I'm going to give him a chance to explain to us a little bit about the Oologah radio station. But right now, Russ, I want to talk to you about this series of lessons. I was very interested in this, and folks, the reason for this interview is to generate an interest in this series, and I'm going to be sharing, or Stefan or Paul will be sharing a lesson from this series. We may share one a day, or we'll see how it goes, but we want these lessons out there. And because here lately, it seems like the Lord's church has come under attack, as in you're just another denomination, you think you're the only ones are right, and so forth and so on. But right now, Russ, would you introduce yourself maybe a little bit more than I've said and explain to us about the work that you do over there in Oologah, and then tell us about this wonderful series of lessons.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Yes, I'm the preacher for the Church of Christ here in Oologah, Oklahoma. Oologah is in northeast Oklahoma. We've been here since, well, I'm in my about start year 5, if I remember correctly. We have known this congregation for years, even before we started working here. But I did these lessons entitled Strange Things You Hear About the Church of Christ. I did this towards the end of last year, and I got the idea actually from another brother. He did a series of, his are a little bit longer than mine, but it's a reason we did this is because there are a lot of strange things that people hear about the church. We hear all kinds of different ideas, and this is just a 8 lesson series, and it covers things such as, well, I'll just look at the lesson titles here. The first one being Strange Things You Hear About the Church of Christ. The Church of Christ is Campbellites. We know there are those who believe that that Alexander Campbell began the Church of Christ, and so that's why we have that lesson. Another lesson deals with the accusation that the Church of Christ is a cult. We know there are those who will say that, and of course the church obviously is not a cult, but we have those who have that idea. Another lesson deals with the idea the accusation that the Church of Christ oppresses women, because we teach that women are to have leadership roles over men. Another deals with the idea the accusation that the Church of Christ doesn't believe in the Old Testament. Some think that because we don't some think because we put so much emphasis on the New Testament, they think we do not believe in the Old Testament. And so, of course, they go to another extreme. Another deals with the accusation that the Church of Christ doesn't believe in miracles. Again, because of our stance and because of the Bible teaches that miracles have ceased, we have those who make those accusations, and so that lesson deals with that. Another lesson deals with the end times, and of course, that in itself is a whole lot of confusion on that, and so a lesson concerning some strange ideas that people think that we hold to, and of course, in reality, on that lesson, it's really vice versa on that. Also, another lesson deals with the idea that the Church of Christ believes in salvation by works. Of course, they give the idea because we teach, as the Bible does, that baptism is necessary for remission of sins. And then the last lesson deals with mechanical instruments of music. And so it really covers a pretty good range of topics. Of course, we could do a lot more on that. But there are a lot of strange things and strange ideas that people have about the Lord's church. And for the largest portion of a lot of it is because it's things they have heard, it's hearsay. They don't even realize what the church teaches on it. Some have these ideas because they have a poor knowledge concerning the Bible and why we teach what we do, things such as that. And so this entire series deals with various things that you can hear. And of course, it could have been much longer than 8 lessons, obviously. But it is a series of lessons that is designed to encourage and also designed to educate, especially those who are outside the Lord's church, to see that we are not strange as some would have you think, but we are trying to do Bible things in Bible ways. And so that is the focus of that entire series of lessons.
Well, Russ, I personally cannot wait to start sharing some of these lessons. I'm very excited about the first lesson dealing with Campbellites. I have a sermon that I did in school on my Digital Evangelism YouTube channel, and I start out saying, "I am not a Campbellite," and I kind of whacked the pulpit. The young man that did his what we call our restoration speech in the Memphis School of Preaching, his topic was Alexander Campbell. And it is very interesting to do these studies and to see that the Lord's church goes back beyond Alexander Campbell, and nothing happens in a vacuum. And Alexander Campbell was, he was influenced by so many other things. And these men really just wanted to get back to the Bible. You know, we have it drilled in our head that nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. And whenever we prepare these types of lessons and spend time on these series, Russ, on this 8 lesson series rather, about how much time do you think you would have in preparing this and researching this, and how much time spent in the Bible and then other reference books? You know, this was really a labor of love that was probably rather also labor intensive.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I got the idea from another preacher by the name of Jack Williams. And so I looked at a lot of the stuff he prepared. And of course, people's approach towards things change over a period of time. You present a series of lessons today, in 2 years, you can redo the whole series based on how people view those topics. And so it wasn't just looking at some of the information he had prepared, but also looking at just considering myself being a former Baptist, thinking about how different denominations view the Church of Christ. And so, and also looking, of course, at various articles and things. And, you know, the amount of time spent on any lesson was just on one lesson was easily, you know, probably almost a full 2 days sometimes, depending on what that topic was. There was an article put out by a Baptist preacher years ago. It was called 101 Questions for Campbellites. And my father-in-law, Chuck Northrop, actually wrote an article in response to that, and he answered all 101 of those. And so I read through all of that. And what's interesting is that when you're on the wrong, when I say the wrong side of the fence, that is on the side of error, ignorance, whether it be ignorance that is because you just don't know, or ignorance that is you're just unwilling to see the truth. It's amazing how far people go and how quickly you see how their accusations, their arguments aren't only false, but they're also are illogical and don't make sense. And so it's very fascinating. You learn a lot not only about what the Bible says on these topics, but also what other people are thinking. And so it's very interesting and definitely very time consuming as well.
Well, Russ, I know I've said it before, I'm very excited to start sharing this series of lessons. We will start with one tonight, the very first one, and it deals with the issue of being called a Campbellite. And we will share that tonight at 8 o'clock Central Time, I believe. It's about 2:17 now, so 8 o'clock my time. Be about 6 hours. I should be a little bit more well informed about that, don't you think? If I'm going to be putting stuff out on the World Wide Web. Anyway, Russ, it's great, and I think we've covered this series of lessons rather well. I thank you so much for the time that you've put into it. I thank you for the information that you're willing to share to the world. We have close to 10,000 followers on the Added to the Church of Christ page, and I, along with every one of them, need stuff like this. Mm-hmm. Now, there's something else that Russ does. It's his work. It's his labor of love, if you will, and that's Oologah Radio Station. And I know all the people there in Oologah help in that and are behind him 100%. So it's a work of the church. Mm-hmm. But Russ is really he's the focal point of it. So he's who we see, and he's who I deal with. And Russ, I want you to tell us about the radio station. Tell us stuff. Some of the programming that's on it, the widespread listening audience that you have. I mean, these broadcasts have gone from Oklahoma all the way to the other side of the world, as far as I know. Russ, tell us a little bit about Oologah Radio.
Well, Oologah Radio is a network that primarily its focus is podcasts. Podcasts range under 10 minutes. Most of ours are between 5 and 7 minutes. And we have a few programs. We have 4 programs that are 20 minutes or longer for those who are willing to sit down and listen to those things. But we recently kind of went to the podcast approach because podcasts allow you to listen anytime. You never miss a podcast. Live events sometimes we miss because of different things going on. But a podcast, when it's released, you can listen to anytime. You can listen in the morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. And it's always there waiting for you. And so that's why we kind of went to the idea of podcast. But like you mentioned, it definitely has gone around the world. That the amount of listeners we received in less than a year that we've been doing it is incredible. We've gone to, I believe, over almost 20 different countries, I believe, around the world, almost every state in the U.S. We have a lot of listeners from Germany and from Singapore, from India. When I say a lot, I mean we have hundreds each month. We average a listener base of about 400 or more daily, which is huge when you talk about a brotherhood radio program, because sometimes you tell people that, you think, well, that sounds good, but that's not a whole lot of people. Well, we're not talking about, this isn't ESPN radio. We're going to have millions of people tuning in. Bible material is for those who actually have an interest in it, and those who want to learn and grow and be encouraged. So the world as a whole is probably going to, a lot of people in the world are going to ignore us, but we also know a lot of people in the world are also going to be intrigued and listen and tune in. And we're probably never going to get the millions of people to tune in like we would love to have, but to reach the hundreds every day, I mean, not just, a week, we're talking every day. That is huge. And you multiply that by 7, you see how many people we reach just in a week's time. We have family podcasts. We have 5 family podcasts actually for kids, from children all the way up to college age as well. We have 11 podcasts that are focused just on Bible study in general. We have a podcast for ladies. We're getting ready to add 2 more podcasts that are specifically for ladies. We have a special edition podcast, which is, it may be a lectureship, it may be an interview like this one, it may be, just anything. In fact, we do plan to put in iTunes this summer. The Bible Institute of Missouri lectureship will be available, and so the way all this goes out is just incredible. When we first started, we were just putting things online, and then we went and added ourselves to iTunes, and it just literally exploded across the world. Then we went and put ourselves, made ourselves available to the Android side of things, and it just exploded again. And so it seems like every month you have something else is just causing us to surge forward. And we're not surging forward and slacking back. We keep surging forward, and we maintain and surge forward and maintain. And so there hasn't really been any slack off times. We have programming that's available really every single day. Even on Sundays, we have the Oologah Pulpit, which is a radio program that allows you to listen to sermons from Oologah every Sunday. We have a podcast Monday through Fridays. I look at our podcast schedule. We have a podcast is entitled Exhortations, and that's really where Oologah Raido began, was with the Exhortations podcast, because we were doing longer programs. I thought, what if we did something that was every day just to encourage you, something small, something short, and that's where Exhortations came from. And then from that, it just exploded into these 17 or so other podcasts that we have, and then in turn, it just went nuts, to be honest. We have podcasts, like I said, Monday through Friday. Of course, Tony has one with us there on Thursday with Life and Godliness. And we have just so many different topics. And I don't say that because I do podcasts, but because there's so many topics out there. There's literally something for everyone. And we're trying to make sure that we can have programs for everyone, for the ladies, for the kids, which the kids ones are, I mean, those are so popular. I knew they would be, I'd hope they would be encouraging, but they have been just incredibly massive amounts of people listening in. I know we have those who actually use the kids podcast and other podcasts for their family devotional time. We listen to them with our child on the way to school and maybe the way home and those types of things, and she loves it. And so it is affecting not just the mature Christians and the Christians in general, but it's also affecting our children and helping them learn and grow. Because you think about what you hear when you turn on the radio, you hear a lot of trash most of the time. You hear stuff that you don't want your child to hear. You hear stuff that you don't want to hear. You hear, of course, today we hear a lot of politicians, and who wants to listen to that? And so we have programming that you can listen to anytime, and it's so nice to be able to get in your car and to turn on your smartphone, or turn on, if you're at home, turn on your tablet. Not to set, you don't have to sit in front of the computer to do this, and you can listen anytime, anywhere. That's our motto. We're available on any device, if it's Android or Apple, and so you can listen anywhere, anytime, and it's just so much stuff for you to listen to. And we have one that's kind of unique, and I kind of went back and forth on it about whether or not I should do it. But we have one podcast that's called Just for Laughs. And it's an interesting podcast because it's not anything that's Bible study, but it's a podcast really, and it's only every 2 weeks because I don't want people to think this is our focus. But it's designed to remind us that Christians, we can have fun and laugh and joke around, and we can do it without foul language. We can do it without crude humor. We can do it without alcohol and drugs, without talking about, all these other horrible topics people are talking about. And we can do it and laugh and not talk about any of those things. We can do it in a way that you can have the whole family around and laugh and giggle at us telling stories and jokes and things, and anyone can tune in. And you cannot do that with radio, over the air, or with television anymore. It just doesn't happen. And so we do all we can to reach out to the world, and it has exploded in a big way. And I don't say that to give credit to myself. It's by the power of God and the glory of God that these things happen. But if you go onto our website, oologahraido.org, you'll notice we have podcasts. You see how to listen. You can listen right there on the site if you want to. But we also even have an article every week, a different article every week. So if you don't want to do more than just listen, you can read an article. We have a link that is for Bible studies, where we have suggested different things you can use to help with your Bible study and different things like that. And so it's not just about us. It's about helping the brotherhood as a whole. And whether it be us or another work, we want to do all we can to encourage our brethren and to strengthen them as well. And that's what the verse on our homepage talks about, 2 Thessalonians 3 and verse 2, to establish you, encourage you concerning your faith. That's what Oologah Radio is designed to do, and Lord willing, will continue to do so as well.
Well, Russ, this is all very exciting to me. As an old school country boy, I grew up and I was not technologically advanced. I came to all this, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know how to do. But there is so much out there that's allowing us to take the gospel to the uttermost parts of the earth in such a way as those men in the days of old, they would just be amazed. And I think about a verse in Acts 14. If you read 14:6, it says they were They were aware of it and fled unto Lystra and Derbe, cities of Lycaonia, and unto the region that lieth round about. And then 14:7 is so profound. And there they preached the gospel. Now, you talk about just for fun, just for laughs. You remember Yogi Berra, he said, wherever you go, there you are. Well, we preach the gospel where we are. And with this internet, friends, we're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we want to preach the gospel. Russ, do you have any before we take this show off the air?
No, I would just encourage everyone to not only check out Oologah Raido, but also to check out the added page there on Facebook as well, and check out your YouTube page as well. There's so many options available, sound biblical options available to help encourage you. There's no reason for us not to take advantage of them anymore. Whether it be oologahraido.org, or you can go onto our website, Oologah CFC, the actual church website, and we have all of our sermons on there, sermon outlines and things for you to read. We have more articles than I think I've ever seen probably on any church website. I don't say that because I didn't actually build our church website. I just now maintain it now. My brother-in-law actually built it. But there's articles, there are videos like from World Bible School, and we have them organized in such a way you can get through them pretty quickly. And so there's so much that the internet has to offer in a way of helping a Christian grow. We need to take advantage of it and use the internet for something good, and use it to further the gospel and encourage ourselves as well. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do.
Well, thank you very much, and amen. Folks, as we sign off, we just want to let you know that this has been Tony Brewer with Digital Evangelism from the Added to the Church of Christ Acts 247 webpage. We want to say a special thanks to Stefan Millet, the founder of the Acts 247 Added to the Church of Christ webpage, and we want to send a shout out to Paul Mays, one of our fellow laborers on that page, and thank you so much for the work that he's been doing. Russ, we thank you so much, and we pray that your work increase in the Lord, and as a byproduct, our work increase in the Lord. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.